and welcome to the Free Rotation Nation. This is Angie, and I'm joined with Chris.
Hola.
I said with Chris. I'm joined with Chris.
Oh, we're joined.
Human centipede style.
Oh,
Sweet.
God.
I'm the head. Just throwing that out
I would
there.
hope so. And Becky.
That means you're the like.
I'm going to be
part.
the middle, Becky. You're the back.
Oh, I'm not part of this human centipede.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
No,
I'm going to
not.
give and receive. I'm the middle.
No,
Yeah,
ma'am.
and this thruple. I almost said truffle.
And this truffle.
This truffle, I'm the middle, okay? I'm the gooey center. I'm the wop.
That's the best ball. God.
I mean, oh, hi.
Macaroni in a pot.
Wop, wop. This is the ASMR episode.
I just want to hear Ben Shapiro reading the lyrics to WAP again.
The wop, wop, wop. That's some wop.
Macaroni in a pot.
My P word. That's the best.
How would we walk? If we were the human centipede, I feel like we'd fall a lot.
I don't think the point is to walk. A lot.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever the point of it. And I really, honestly, if we're talking about human centipede, I don't think any of us would be wanting to walk.
Well, you know what the worst part was, other than all of it?
Yeah. The beginning, middle, and end?
Yeah.
Literally like the
end.
human centipede.
But like the poor girl at the end, like, specifically, her mouth got so infected because of all the shit that would come into her mouth and infect it. I felt so bad for her. And like her face was literally necrotizing. And it was so painful when they would walk. She would have to make sure to push her face forward because it would pull on it and really hurt. And I just couldn't even imagine.
If that's the part that really made you sad, you need to rewatch it and the whole thing.
To be fair, I was very, very intrigued as well.
Oh.
And I was like, that's a kink I didn't know I had.
Oh my God.
Huh?
Speaking of human centipede.
Speaking of human centipedes.
That's not what we're talking about.
At all.
But it kind of, we're talking about conspiracy theories. And the ones that we believe could be like, well, not could be, but we truly believe are real.
Like, yeah. So everybody knows conspiracy theories. Like, I don't think you can listen
And not JFK Jr. coming back. The man's dead.
Oh my God, that was funny. Was it JFK Jr. coming back to announce that he was running for election? Is that what that QAnon thing was? Like, people were literally waiting outside where... You hadn't heard this?
Yeah.
This is literally a thing. Like, there were QAnon...
They're like, do we tell him?
Yeah.
That he died years ago?
That he had not actually died and that he was...
In the plane crash?
Yeah, and he was...
Now, that is a conspiracy theory that he...
That is true. But he was coming back to announce his re-election. He was going to run for the election, or that he was running with Trump. I think that was... I can't remember which one it was. But it was real... Ooh, man, the internet has brought us so much, and then it brings us so much.
I'm not really that up on my JFK Jr. political affiliations, but it seems like he would have been a Democrat.
I think he was.
If I could venture a guess.
Hey, man, life is what you make it to be.
Again, I'm not saying Q makes any sense. We have a guy at my work. He doesn't work with me, but he works like in a building near me. And he has a lot of Q stickers on his truck. And every time I see him, I'm like, that's a crazy person walking amongst us. This is what they look like.
It's like like in there's an anime called Psychopaths where they analyze like before you become a serial killer or any sort of killer. It's kind of like that. It's like advertising like the crazy that you're just waiting for at any point in time. I feel like bumper stickers are just a way to advertise you're crazy.
So like, I get if you're a member of Q. I mean, I don't get it, but like. If you are like, oh, unbelievable, the child rapists and all that good stuff. But to put it on your car, like in big bold letters, and then you're like...
That is something to be proud of, apparently.
You want everybody to know you're batshit, huh?
Oh, yeah. Not those kids. And I would say that we're not like flat earthers or anything. Like if you have not listened to this podcast before, you probably have accidentally tripped over a conspiracy theory episode we've done at this point.
If you are a flat earther, you can go fuck yourself, though.
Yeah,
that makes no sense. Hollow Earth, sure. I can get a little behind that.
I'd get more behind Hollow Earth than Flat Earth.
I would too.
Especially since they just uncovered all those stone monoliths in Antarctica.
I mean, I'm down for Hollow Earth. That one to me is a fun one. Like, it's kind of like Flat Earth has literally been disproven. Like, we are not...
They debunk themselves trying to prove it on a regular basis, which makes me happy.
It's just one of those things that you're just like, why would you come up? But we all have our own theories that we think must be real, right? Mm-hmm. Not JFK or Flat Earth or anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you?
Although, to be fair to the Flat Earthers, and no, I'm not being fair.
if brain damage happens, I mean,
well, yes.
yeah.
If what they're doing is they're taking the quantum theory of time and applying it to geology. You cannot do that.
I think
we're not flat Earth.
I think you are giving them a lot more
credit
than they deserve.
I listened to Kanye's thing on it. I read it.
Oh God.
Yeah, I read it.
And I'll go and tell you, as a Kanye fan from back in the day, he has also gone batshit.
Yes,
it is really weird the direction he's gone off in.
He's
and
gone
it's like
comic book serial killer batshit.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you used to make really good music and you were just really, really talented, and then just nutso.
Have you ever heard of the comic book serial killer?
No.
Okay. I'll send it to you. Maybe we can do a podcast on it.
Okay.
Crazy.
I
Bonkers.
was about to say,
anyways,
you really should live like Dolly Parton. Make good music and just live your life.
Give children books.
Like when they ask her political opinion, she's like, it doesn't matter what I believe.
Yeah.
What does that got to do with music?
I love Dolly Parton. Anyways, okay, so
Chris.
Oh, I was going to say, I saw a meme.
What is it?
That said what we really need right now is a movie where Dolly Parton and Elvira find out they're long-lost sisters and they have to go solve a crime.
I would love that.
I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Didn't Elvira die?
No.
Cassandra is still alive, thank you.
There was somebody who just passed away that maybe she did Elvira or...
No, she just came out.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
And introduced her wife of 25 years.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
Chris.
We all knew Elvira.
What's your conspiracy theory?
So I picked 3. 2 that are pretty well known, and then one that is I just happen to believe.
Let's do one at a time. Let's go around.
Okay.
I only have one, so this is gonna be real fast.
You better think of 2 more.
Okay, got it.
So my first one is one that everyone has heard of, and it's the Jfk assassination, and it's the reason behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe Lee Harvey Oswald killed him. He just wasn't a good shot. Like, it is what it is. But what I do believe the reason he was assassinated is because in 1962, a year before he was assassinated, the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the DoD came up with an idea that was called Operation Northwoods, which you can look up. And Operation Northwoods was, the plan was, and I'll do a little backstory. Early 60s, Cuba, Castro took over in 59, I think. And he was being really friendly towards the communists, specifically Russia. He was letting a lot of his party, like the government, be taken over by communists, because that's kind of what he was for. And we did not like this. He was also letting U.S. national companies that existed in Cuba, because before Castro, we had casinos in Cuba. Cuba was like a tourist destination. Like, people now don't think about it, but it was. Like, there was the Tropicana and Little Havana. And
that's why you see, like, Indiana Jones meeting people in Cuba, because...
It was a tourist destination for the U.S. I mean, it's 60 miles off the coast. You can fly there in less than an hour, and it's tropical and beautiful, and we literally had set it up like a little Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Well, when Castro took over, that kind of went out the window. And he started putting communists in charge of things, and they kind of started taking over American companies, which America was not a big fan of. So the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the DoD got together and created Operation Northwoods, which was... The idea was originally that they would take an American commercial airliner and fill it, just flying to Cuba or whatever, and then shoot it out of the sky. Shoot it down, hijack it, shoot it down, and then blame Cuba for it.
False flag the shit out of that.
Yes, that way we could go to war with Cuba, and no one could say shit. Nobody. The Brits, the UK, anybody. They'd be like, yeah, well, they killed a bunch of Americans, and we could take it over and get it back. The memorandum and the Joint Chiefs of Staff all met with Kennedy in '62 and pitched this idea to him, and he was like, yeah, we're not gonna kill a bunch of Americans to go to war with Cuba. It's just not a thing that we're going to do. He shot it down. He actually ended up firing the gentleman who was in charge of all this. It was a 4-star general. He got him fired in 62. In 63, he was named the leader of the NATO superior or whatever over all of it. Like, he was in charge of all the war instead of just America. So I think him shooting down the military as a whole, they viewed him as, and they know this, the military and the other politicians started viewing him as soft on Cuba and the communists in general. And I think that's what got him assassinated. I don't think it was, people tell you like he was sleeping with Marilyn Monroe and spilling secrets. She kind of slept with everybody. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I really think it was him saying, yeah, we're not going to do what you want to do to the military. I think they were like, yeah, we kind of are. Mm-hmm. We're going to do whatever we want.
Which really does tie in with the military using their MK Ultra program.
Well, I think
to get him.
The assassination, when you look at it, like, I think, and there's a lot of theories. There are, the NSA did it, the CIA did it, the FBI did it, the mafia had it done because his daddy was a bootlegger and owed them a bunch of favors. And then when he got president, he was like, yeah, we're not doing any of that. I really think the military hired it out. And I think they compartmentalized. I don't think it's like, oh, they hired one guy to go do the job. I think they hired it out in different, like, I mean, really like the way you would separate a task if you were in charge of a large business. These guys are in charge of getting the guns. This guys are in charge of setting it up, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's the problem with it. I don't think you can link it to one thing.
Right.
I think it's probably MK Ultra with Jack Ruby. It's probably also the Cubans with Lee Harvey Oswald and the way he was involved with it. It's probably also the mafia. That's how they probably obtained the guns.
They probably all like, you know what? Yeah, let's get this guy.
Yeah, and I think they doled it out in such a way that it's not one section you can go to. Like, there's not one guy in charge of it. And that's the way they do if you fall into, like, UFOs and you believe in Area 51 and S4 and Groom Lake and all that stuff. The people that supposedly have worked on UFOs say that's how they dole out the work.
Right, and you don't see the other parts.
That's
you
it.
Only know your section.
Yes, hey, you guys are in charge of propulsion. You guys are in charge of metallurgy. You guys are in charge of construction, but they never
see the full picture.
Yeah, and you're never cross talking to each other to figure it out as a whole. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how they probably doled out the assassination was, okay, you're in charge of getting the weapons. You're in charge of finding the patsy. You're in charge of grooming Lee Harvey and making sure he's at the book depository. Mm-hmm. You're in charge of setting up Jack Ruby as, the guy that's going to come forward. Like, it's all that stuff is separate. So you can't go to one person and get the full story.
Well, and it doesn't help that JFK said, just wait for his speech, because basically he doesn't believe in secrets and he's going to tell the truth.
Absolutely.
Oh, we got to shut him the fuck up.
I think it sped it up, but I think it was already in play.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. He was... And the fact that Americans loved him, he was dangerous.
And that speech was in 63 at American University. I think that's where he gave it. And then they're like, time to murder. Mm-hmm. And they put it all into play. And again, I think a good conspiracy or a good assassination like that, you can't have, James pulled the trigger. We gave him the gun and then he went and did it. You need that kind of separation so there's not one person in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. And there's no one person to pin it on other than Lee Harvey Oswald. The rest of it doesn't matter. It's just, he pulled the trigger. They don't question how or really why. You just have somebody that does it. And it sucks because pretty sure that was a joint attack from him turning down the military's attempt to kill a bunch of Americans. And it wasn't just necessarily them shooting down a plane. There were a bunch of other hypotheticals they had that were taking out American cargo ships. They wanted to attack cities with weapons.
Right, like it came from...
Yeah, like they came from Cuba. They also wanted them to attack, like... Americans... OAS was American states, but it's overseas American states. So, like... their idea was that they were going to have the Cubans attack Jamaica or Trinidad and Tobago so that they'd have to ask for our help, and then we'd go to war with them. And that way, if Jamaica asked for our help in stopping Cuba from murdering them, the UK wouldn't step in and be like, no, you shouldn't do that. They'd be like, yeah, you should probably murder. You shouldn't let that happen. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the plans. And I don't think that has ever stopped. So when you look at like Operation Fast and Furious, which happened, it was Eric Holder and Barack Obama, that whole plan was to give weapons, like automatic weapons, to the Mexican cartels that were close to the border in hopes that they would kill American citizens so that we could then outlaw semi-automatic and automatic weapons. Mm-hmm. It almost worked. It was pretty close to working because it did actually happen. The cartels did end up shooting some American citizens, but then knowledge of it came out. And the part that bothers me about that whole thing was Eric Holder was declared immune from any kind of prosecution for that. And it's like, yeah, you kind of gave these not great people weapons to kill Americans so that you could then implement whatever policy you want. And I don't care what the policy is. I care about how you get it done. Mm-hmm. And that's not the right way to do it. Like, legitimately sacrificing American lives for your ideals, it's not okay. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the good tricks are the old tricks. They never stop working. And unless somebody finds out, it's going to work.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, I don't think it ever stops. I just don't think we get to see a lot of the behind the scenes of it. We just see, oh, the cartels shot 14 Americans in a border town. Mm-hmm. We really need to get these guns away from them.
And it happened in Reagan's day.
Yeah, it never stops.
Yeah, like Hillary did it with Syria.
Yeah,
like this is like the thing they do.
Yeah, and again, I'm not blaming like Obama or Eric Holder. I mean, I kind of think Eric Holder should be held accountable for that. But but what bothers me is that these people you cannot hold them accountable. Because, I mean, again, when they were going to bring Eric Holder up on charges, the president just stepped in and said, yeah, he has immunity from all charges for this. And you're like, yeah, that seems pretty wrong because they would put my ass in jail really quickly.
Yeah.
If I go to our local gangs and give them a bunch of guns and say, hey, go ham on the pre-K, I'm probably going to jail for a while.
Yeah. And everybody's going to fully support it.
Absolutely.
That guy's a dick.
Because it's right. I should be in jail. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But when you get to the higher-ups, there just is no accountability. And that's the same thing with, like, whoever actually did, I think whoever pulled the trigger and killed Kennedy, I don't think we'll ever know their names. But even if we did, I don't think it would matter. Mm. I don't think there would ever be any kind of trial or... It just sucks. Like, and that's, like, the conspiracies that... Those are the ones that I enjoy the most because there are elements that you know are true. Like, we know Northwoods happened. We have the memorandums. We know they went to him. We know Kennedy was like, not a chance in hell do we shoot down an American plane. And then less than a year later, he's assassinated by whomever. Mm. It's like, fun stuff.
Well,
pretty deep.
I real feel stupid going next. I wish we'd started with mine.
No, I mean...
It's whatever you like.
Yeah. This is why we believe them. And
okay.
This is just about our belief.
Let me preface this. I don't...
Oh, boy. You know it's good when somebody has to preface.
Well, let me preface the fact that I really don't get into conspiracy theory stuff. Like, I like it as, like, okay, like a what if, but things that I don't necessarily partake in the, like, okay, yeah, I definitely think this happened. Except for, like, one theory that I'm like, I can kind of get behind this theory. Like, okay. So, that's like going way off the kilter on this
I like it. Let's go.
Okay. So, I truly do believe that there are other beings out there. I do. I think that there's, in the vast fathom of the universe, there is no way humankind is the only intelligent species out there. I just don't. But what I do believe is that we are way out there and that it may be more difficult for other either life forms or anything like that. Maybe they're not as advanced. Maybe they are more advanced. But I don't think that necessarily what we see like in our night skies is definitely like an extraterrestrial. I kind of think that it's, oh God, this sounds so stupid. Oh my God, I'm about to, oh God. Time travelers from our, like us, human beings in the future have figured out how to come back in time. And that's what we're seeing. I think that when you look at a lot of like biblical references to stuff like that, like cave drawings, the biblical references about things that they see in the sky, all this stuff, you know, you see what you think look like aliens, but they also look like us. And to me, it's crazy because it's like, you hear a lot of people talk about how like these beings kind of looked like us. They looked like weirdly evolved forms of us and they can speak to us and all of that. That sounds like human evolution, and we figured out how to come back in time.
Well, in the leaked alien interview footage, they ask the alien, you know, what are you? He says, I'm you. I'm literally you existing at the exact same time, but I'm still you.
Right. So maybe it's not time, and it could be time travelers. I don't fucking know.
Be, yeah.
Or it could be just that we have separate universes that, like the multiverse. I know it sounds so stupid, but like the multiverse does cross every once in a while, and that's what we see. I truly believe that I believe that there is other kinds out there, but at the same time, it's like some of this stuff, like, how do we have the technology that gets seen looks very similar to our stuff or stuff that has been found on Earth. Like I think they just discovered a whole new metal or something or element or to that effect. And it's similar in some of the structures they've seen in extraterrestrial beings. Well, what if that's just us in the future figuring this stuff out or creating something that allows them to either go back in time or maybe flip through the multiverse?
Well, quantum physics has proven that time that we used to think was the only constant is just a construct, and there is no such thing as time.
Well, like a lot of people believe it's just a river or a stream that flows, but it's really a lake.
Yeah, like, it's not a stream at all. Yeah, it just everything is. So you could open that door and be in 1862.
Well, and there's a lot
if you knew how to do it.
Well, there's a lot of theories out there about the fact that every decision you make, there is a decision somewhere else where you made a different decision and what your life could have gone in a different direction. So maybe in general what we're seeing isn't extraterrestrial, it's just terrestrial but in an advanced form. Mm-hmm. So to me it just kind of it makes a lot of sense for it not to, and it's because it's like a theory that you can look at and be like, we don't know what our advanced forms are going to look like in 1,000 years. We're not. We hear stories about looking at, like, I don't know, Back to the Future, where they think we're going to be in flying cars and all this stuff. I don't think we've made it to flying cars. We're working to that, I guess. But I don't think people from 100 years ago would expect us to be as technologically advanced as we are. Matter of fact, I think if somebody from our time went back in time, they would probably think we were an alien. Like, carrying an iPhone, headphones, earbuds, anything like that. Like, we could look like aliens to them. So what is the possibility that maybe that's exactly what has happened in the past or what we've seen in the sky? So that's not as deep, but it's kind of like my theory that kind of makes sense. I don't know. Okay, bye.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be. If you believe that alien interview is real and he says, I'm you. I'm just a much more evolved form, but I am literally you.
Well, they've talked about like people have discussed like the idea that we've seen these bipedal beings that look like us, they look like us, but they don't look like us. They can speak to us. They do very similar things to us. It's very like the commands are very similar and stuff like that. That could just be us after a nuclear war happens, anything to that extent. And we've just evolved to that point. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, to me, it just kind of makes sense at the same time. Like, if you're going to argue that something out there in space has figured out a way to travel to us, why is it so weird to think that maybe there's, we have advanced so far in the future and time, and people have, I mean, they've been trying to figure out time travel forever.
Well, I think we'll know soon. They just received those intelligent signals that were speaking to us.
Yeah. So
maybe we'll know soon.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of makes sense to me. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. That's all I got. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, I guess mine's in a, like, not opposition, but a little bit different from yours. I too believe that I believe everything, to be fair. Like, you could tell me anything, I'd be like, it could be true. Because we don't know if it is or not.
Well, I prefer to believe that. I would rather believe it's possible that it's, and then just completely reject it, other than Nibiru.
I was about to say, Becky.
Other than Nibiru, I will tell you.
When we get the planet literally crash into us, we're already getting its asteroids field. And you're like, oh my God, there's no such thing.
Okay. What is that? Why would anybody hide that?
Okay, the sun is literally having its flames pulled off in gravitational forces.
Why would they hide another giant planet?
Because it's going to kill us. It's an extinction level event.
We've been talking about extinction level events for years now. Yosemite
is the extinction level event that's happened consistently. I'm not getting into it because I don't know if it's true or not. And it's just a theory and it has stuff behind it. Anyways, I think it's already happened.
Oh, yeah.
I think that it's all happened. We are in a simulation. They've ran hundreds of scenarios through the computers, and every time it comes back as 100% certainty that we are in a simulation. I think the world ended.
I mean, it would explain like the random videos you see of things that just don't make sense.
It explains the Mandela effects. the weird glitches that happen, the weird sky patterns. Like think of the Minecraft sky.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, those are clouds, but they're so weird looking. We're basically living in Minecraft. I don't think we're Sims so much, but I think we're more like Minecraft. We just work constantly.
So what was the world-ending event, though?
This I don't know, but I do believe the world ended. And I think we're in a simulation. And, yeah. I think that a lot of things that happen, like just like every computer program, we get viruses. Could be what COVID is. It's a computer virus. And they're trying to update our software. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. But I do believe we live in a computer simulation. Now, do I think that I should lose my morality because of it? No. I'm not going to run out and kill people. Because I don't want to. But if I did want to, I would. Because what's the problem?
Well, I mean,
I'm just going to come right back into the simulation as me.
I think the Mandela Effect is technically considered a conspiracy theory, but I think it's one that people have consistently been like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, why is it like this?
Well, like the Britney Spears never wore the head microphone, and now when you see her, she's got this. No, okay, this is too far.
Okay, there's a thing where she never wore a head mic. She did wear that.
No,
whole meme
Mandela
came from
Effect.
her wearing it.
Becky, look it up. Britney Spears never wore a head mic.
That is a lie. That is, as a former Britney Spears stan, I know she wore one.
I know. It's the latest Mandela Effect because apparently she never wore it.
She did. I don't care what anybody says. You Nelson Mandela Effect bullshit.
Think of the aquarium, the costume we saw, head mic. Because Britney Spears wore head mic.
It's like Berenstain and Berenstain Bears.
Like even the MTV thing, like she's all macking on McDonough. I said McDonough. Same thing. Madonna with a head mic.
Chris is just sitting there all like, these broads be crazy.
So my problem with the Mandela Effect, and I think it's really interesting, but I don't think it is. I think it proves more how piss poor our memories are, and how we construct them versus how reality is changing, or there are different timelines. So y'all say with the Britney Spears thing with the head mic on, I clearly remember Madonna wearing one and not Britney Spears. And I was not a stan at all. I don't give two shits about it. But I do remember Madonna wearing one and not Britney Spears.
Now, I can tell you she 100% wore one. Because if you think of the MTV VMAs where she's dancing with a snake, she literally has a head mic on.
And doesn't have a head mic on.
She does have a head mic on.
I remember Madonna wearing one. I do not remember Britney Spears.
This is the thing that's going to make me fight people today.
So I think it's more a show of how piss poor our memories are.
Well, and there is an argument to be made, especially like witness testimony, talking about like what people remember. But
so you can do it with those optical illusions when they'll show you like a color that's in gray, but every color in there is gray, but you start seeing reds and blues because your brain fills in the missing spots. So I think your brain fills in spots that you think are correct, and you just assume they're a memory versus your brain filling in a blank.
Okay, so it was Oops, I Did It Again. They were like, you didn't wear a head mic. That's what they're talking about.
Well, the Oops, I Did It Again one was the black skirt versus the plaid skirt. Mm-hmm. That one I saw, and I don't remember. I saw that video as a young man. I don't remember her wearing a plaid skirt, but everybody swears she did. But the internet.
I remember the plaid skirt.
You mean in A Baby One More Time?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, she was wearing a plaid skirt. I'm like, I remember wearing a black skirt. I watched the shit out of that video when I was 15.
Sure it was a black skirt.
Yeah, it was. But everyone swears it was plaid. And I'm like, I watched the fuck out of that video, and I don't remember plaid. But I think you think Britney Spears schoolgirl, your brain automatically fills in plaid skirt. Because that's just kind of what you assume.
Right.
And I watched...
Because there's a gray sweater, black skirt, white shirt, right?
Yeah, this is literally it.
That
was literally it.
I remember the shit out of that video, and she wasn't wearing no plaid in it. But people swear that she was, and I'm like... I think
that's their expectation of schoolgirl.
Yeah, your brain
Catholic
fills
plaid.
it in because you don't remember really. Mm-hmm. It was just kind of like a fleeting thing you saw, and you're like, oh, she clearly was obviously wearing a plaid skirt, but she just wasn't.
Right.
And the one that fucks me is the Bernstein Bears.
Yeah.
That's the one where I'm like, fuck, I'm pretty sure it was Bernstein. And they're like, no, it was Bernstein.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
And Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
And it's now with the double O's.
The Fruit Loops never really fucked me up. And the Looney Tunes one. When they said it was spelled Tunes, I'm like, yeah, I think that was always right. Mm-hmm. I never remember it being spelled weird, but our brains and human brains consistency and patterns. So if it's two things that rhyme like loon and tune, you want them to be spelled the same.
Right.
I don't remember them being spelled that way. And
No.
people swear to it.
I remember TUNES.
Yeah.
But now it's TOONS.
No, it's still TUNES.
I'm pretty sure it's Looney Tunes. Like,
Everybody swears it was always TOONE or TOONS.
yeah.
And
see, in my head, I picture TUNES.
so do I. But I'm very, like, I like to read. I like...
Yeah. But the Berenstein Bears did always fuck me up.
That's
because
the
I'm
one.
like, that just doesn't... That doesn't make sense, because even in school, I remember them saying Berenstein Bears. I never heard Berenstain Bears. No, there was never that, like, Marvel versus Marvel kind of argument that people sometimes make.
But when I think about it, I'm like, I don't remember these country bears being Jewish.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Berenstain.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's just some things you hear and you're like the Kazam versus Shazam thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe I am thinking of it, like, differently, but I feel like you think about it and you're like, I just vaguely remember it, but then it's like maybe my brain has completely like shut it off. But at the same time, it is I think to me it's like it just sometimes either maybe we are a computer at all points and we do update our software once in a while.
That part I'm not arguing with. I don't know if we're in a simulation or not, but I do. The Mandela Effect, I think, is more a point to prove how piss poor people's memory really is.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just maybe our software is updating. You know, the human brain is its own computer.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty complicated. I think we fill in a lot more blanks with what we think it should be or what we think it would be versus what things were.
Like, you're not focused. Like, you're not focusing on it. You're just kind of perceiving it and then moving on.
You're a prosecutor, so you see witness testimony is usually piss poor if they're not, like, really involved with it.
Right. And I mean, it does happen. I was about to say witness testimony has always been sort of an inconsistent thing. That's why...
Even eyewitness testimony, two people can be at the same spot and see the same thing, but they'll fill it in differently. Because I think we're not recorders. Mm-hmm. Our brains just kind of filter out a lot of the everyday bullshit and then just fill in the blanks.
But why did so many people remember the Queen song as "We Are the Champions" in the very last of the world? Why? And it doesn't exist.
It doesn't. See, and I don't remember it that way. And we had like the recordings of Queen growing up. Like my parents had the vinyl because my dad loved Queen. I never remembered that when people are arguing. I'm like, I don't think it ends that way.
I remember distinctly listening to it, and we would listen to like my music teacher would randomly like play different songs like Jimi Hendrix, all this stuff, and she'd play Queen, and I remember all of us going of the world, like doing that, like that whole thing. And I mean, it's such a contradiction to what my memory is.
Well, and I distinctly remember, "Hello, Clarice." He never said it.
Well, it's like, Luke, I am your father. It's, no, I am your father.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I do remember, no, I am your father, because he's correcting him like, no.
Well, so I think a lot of people got, especially our age, got the "Luke, I am your father" from like Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
Like he does that into the fan, and I think people just assume that, oh, he's just quoting that movie. That has to be the actual line versus going back to watching like the 76 version and actually getting the line right. I think they just assume, oh, he's clearly right, and it's more our age.
Now, the Lilo and Stitch one is weird too, where she's hiding in the dryer, and now she's in a pizza box.
So that's not, I don't think that's actually a Mandela Effect. I think that's Disney going back and being like, we can't have kids getting dryers. I think we need to redraw this.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but you did it, and admit to it.
The same thing with, like, Disney with Song of the South. Like, they just try to take that out of
that
circulation.
Doesn't even exist anymore.
Like, we didn't make that. What are you talking about?
Like, no, you definitely did.
There's definitely not a slave singing Zippity Doo-Dah.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And it's like, Disney, I seen it. I have the VHS at home.
We know what you did, Disney.
They're definitely not racist magpies and blackface minstreling around. Why would we're Disney. No, thank you.
You can't get rid of Heckle and Jekyll, Disney.
Yeah, I mean,
they existed.
That's the thing, is I think some of this is also revisionist history.
Yeah.
So, like, the pizza box versus the dryer, like, I think Disney's like,
And that's probably why they remade Dumbo.
Yeah.
Because it was very racist.
And that's one of the Disney ones, and this isn't one of my conspiracies that makes me happy, is the reason they named Frozen Frozen, so that when you looked up Disney Frozen, you'd find that movie and not Walt Disney's head.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is due isn't it due to be reanimated soon?
Yeah. Well, and the original title was The Ice Queen. So they renamed it Frozen so that when you looked up Disney Frozen, it stopped bringing up Walt Disney's noggin.
That's actually pretty smart, considering like every fairy tale they've ever done is named the actual fairy tale, and they called it Frozen instead of the Ice Queen.
Well, that's the thing is like there had to have been some guy that's like, I'm tired of them Googling this damn thing.
We got to power Disney World with some power.
Well, you can change perception. Like, you really can. And if the first thing when you Google Disney Frozen, even if you're looking for Disney's cryogenically frozen head, you're going to get 2,000 links to the movie.
Yeah.
And it's going to make it harder to find, and it's just going to die off.
Yeah. I mean, Disney, we could do a whole episode about all the bullshit Disney's changed, like, you know, the penis in the sky with Lion King. Simba.
The penis on the cover of The Little Mermaid.
Yes. And the way, like, the leaves in Lion King spell sex. And then, and it's so obvious.
But you know what? That was the 90s. Like, nobody gave a fuck in the 90s. Like, hey, this is hilarious. Now it's like anybody can find it, and you will get canceled.
But we can go frame by frame.
Yeah.
And people do.
Yeah.
And I don't know who these people are who have that kind of time, but Bob be damned if they don't, because they absolutely do. So yeah, that one, the Mandela Effect, I'm not saying not the simulation, because there's some weird shit going on. I think it's for a different reason, but I'm not saying the Mandela Effect's, or the simulation's wrong. I just think the Mandela Effect is just, we have piss poor memories.
Well, because when you expect to see something, like I misread stuff all the time and it's funny, the words my mind puts in, like, why does that say cunt? It says can't. But your mind, like, reads a word, it's like, oh, that never even said that.
Well, I think of it like hunters. When you're out in the woods and you're hunting deer, you start to see antlers, even if there's nothing there. Like, you get tunnel vision and your brain fills it in.
Stephen King has a good book about that. And the Tommyknockers, I think, starts that way. It's another tack one.
It's not the Tommyknockers. I think it starts off with the
hunters
crash landing. Yeah, it is the hunters that find it in the woods.
Then they accidentally shoots his friend, and then here's Tack, who's like, I'm just going to possess you.
But no, I think...
You remember Tack from The Regulators? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he made multiple appearances.
Yeah.
I think our memories are just... We're not designed as recorders. We're designed to filter out mundane.
The bullshit.
Yeah. Otherwise, we get overloaded because there is so much secondary instant bullshit that we don't have to pay attention to.
And now we're even more distracted by the constant inundation from our phones and stuff.
Well, there's actually a study that's been done that shows that children's attention span has gone from, like, I think it was in the 80s, it was like 22 seconds, to now it's 7.
Yeah.
So, like, literally 2/3 loss in 20 years is really bad. And I don't think our brains are set up to operate that way. I think a lot of the depression and the social anxiety you see in kids now is the constant barrage of bullshit from screens and the internet, because our brains we're not actual computers that are designed to absorb everything. We're supposed to filter out the bullshit, but no one knows what the bullshit is.
Well, and I was thinking we were talking about this surprisingly at work one day, talking about juvenile court and how kids are just so different. And we were talking about the fact that now kids can get instant gratification. You can go like, what is this? Go look it up immediately. Whereas back in the day, it's like, I need to go look this up. I got to go to the library.
Yeah,
I got to find the book.
Physically go to a place.
Yeah, now you can find it with such instant gratification. So when kids now don't get what they want immediately, their reaction is like, well, why? But why? This doesn't make any sense.
I think it's our brain wiring. Like, I don't think we're supposed to have dopamine release the way we get it now. Mm-hmm. I think you look at the 70s and 80s, and like, if you wanted knowledge, you had to go to the place where they stored the knowledge and obtain the book where they held the knowledge.
Or find a smart adult that you could sit down and listen to.
Yeah, but they had to have, at some point, gone to a place and learned the knowledge.
Yeah. I think that's why, okay, this is like a really stupid kind of thought, but I do think that's why D&D is so popular now, because it goes back to an old way of telling stories. Like, we are doing verbal storytelling instead of the way now where people can just automatically pull it up your phone, read it, go look at it, do that. You're doing something that was ingrained in our evolution.
Like, even a book, I don't have to go to the library anymore. I used to spend a lot of time at the library checking out books.
Absolutely.
And now I'm like, I'll just load it on my phone.
Yeah.
On Apple Books.
Well, the thing is, I think, and it sucks because I don't think it's the younger generation's fault, but I think they really their brains are fucked up, and it's not their thing. I think that constant dopamine drip of Instagram likes, Facebook shares, Twitter replies.
Yeah.
that does release a dopamine drip in your brain, and you get addicted to it. And that's why so many people have a hard time leaving their phones and computers and stuff behind. You have to have it.
Yeah.
And I think...
And that's the other thing, too, especially in this day and age. We've talked about this before. Is it's like you want to go on vacation and not deal with your phone, but everybody can get a hold of you now. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at. Yeah. Like, somebody's going to email you.
I go to the cabin and put that shit in a drawer.
That's my favorite part about going over to the mountains is there is no phone reception. There is no internet reception.
Mm-hmm. And I can take pictures and not get a text message.
There's a wall phone that if I'm not in that building, sorry, see you later.
That's my thing, too. It's like, that's why when we go out of town anywhere that doesn't have signal, I'm like, you cannot get a hold of me. Yeah. But that's because... I think our brains are wired to not always be on the go.
Well, the thing is, we're also a little bit older.
Right.
So we grew up in a time where if you wanted to go play with your friends on your bikes, your parents couldn't get a hold of you till you came home.
No.
Yeah.
Or they drove by in their car.
That's why your ass better be home when the lights start.
At dark.
Yeah.
When those street lights come on, you better be in this house.
Yard, yeah. Well, and I was about to say, I'm a little bit younger, but I didn't even get my first cell phone until I was 15, and that was because I was driving.
Yeah, I was 17 when I got a Nokia brick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was only just to make sure if I was driving to call on emergencies.
Well, you guys know there's an age difference between me and Becky.
Yeah.
And one of the first things when we started dating that was a huge difference was Becky was always on her phone. And I wasn't. I mean, I am now for the most part, but I still had like an old Nokia phone.
Yeah.
And Becky had like the slide up razor, right?
It was the old Sidekick. The old T-Mobile Sidekick.
So she...
I love that thing so much.
It was so
fun. The full keyboard.
And then she had a BlackBerry... for a while after the Sidekick, and I still have the Nokia brick because it never does. It's still in a kitchen drawer, works fine.
Absolutely. You plug it in, you get reception.
Yeah, and a Sony Ericsson was my next one, so you can see. But yeah, I was always like, why are you're always on your phone? And because she'd go to the bathroom with her phone. And it was just such a difference in our age, and we're not that many years different, but it was just enough time.
But I will say, you were kind of enlightened, even though I don't really think it's enlightenment, when you got your Apple phone and you're like, oh, this is all the shit I can do on my phone.
I was like, I can get on the internet and read stuff.
That's the thing is, like, I think, so you're the generation before me, and she's the generation behind me. I'm kind of in between both of y'all. And I think I'm kind of that last generation where it was go out with your friends on your bike and don't come back till dark. But as we got to be teenagers, we also had the internet became a real, actual thing. So it's weird because I live in both worlds. I live in I want to go in the woods and I don't want to have signal. But I also live in people need to get a hold of me. I need to know what's going on to stay ahead of stuff.
I was pretty much a teenager by the time that whole, like, the internet really did boom. Like, I distinctly remember being 13 or 14 when we used to use AOL. Like, that's just... Yeah, my parents had it for a long time where they could do stuff. But I remember being able to go on, like... the encyclopedia on AOL and being able to print stuff out for school and middle school. And I was like, oh my God, it's just literally the information. I just have it right here. And I mean, by the time I got into high school, everything was internet based.
See, mine wasn't. And even in high school, I still had a set of encyclopedias in my bedroom for school reasons because going to the library sucked all the time.
Oh yeah. When I was a kid, they came around and sold the encyclopedias and parents were like, can I just buy a book at a time? It's like you can buy one book a month for the next umpteen years.
38 months.
Yeah.
I think that's how I don't know.
It probably
because I was very young, but I had the whole set.
Yeah. You were encyclopedia
Funkin'
salesman
Wagnalls A to Z, baby.
That's right.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Even...
You had your Avon, your Mary Kay, and your encyclopedia salesman.
Well, I was about to say, even now, the difference, and I've only been a few years out of law school... when I went to law school, we still had to learn how to physically go to a book in the law library to find what you needed. But the problem is now, because of LexisNexis, Westlaw, stuff like that, your caseload is updated so much quicker than it was back in the day where you used to get the pamphlets and stuff like that and the add-ons. Even my coworker, who's been a lawyer since I was born, I mean, they would get the discs and they'd still have to send the discs like every 6 months. Now, any case that comes out of the Court of Appeals, it's there. It's not even like I have to go anymore and find it.
So it's handy, and I think for the most part it's good, but I think it really is changing brain chemistry and brain function in kids to where their attention spans are down, their dopamine levels are they're so high that when they don't get it, I think that's why we have these kids that are freaking out constantly that don't know how to deal with failure, or they just don't know how to deal with a lot of normal everyday things that we look at like, yeah, that happens, but they're literally in withdrawal.
They don't even have textbooks anymore.
Yeah.
And like now most kids get
a tablet.
They get a tablet at school or a Chromebook and they have to do everything online.
And that was starting my senior year. I remember we got the computers in and they were like, computers?
We had a computer lab when I was in high school.
I had a computer lab.
Like,
yeah.
They were like, you want to learn how to type on a computer? This is probably a necessary skill. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's going to be not going away for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember even being in middle school and early high school and it being like, you kind of need to learn to type. But remember, writing is very important. Like that's going to be everything because a computer is never going to you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket.
Cursive and not going to have a calculator. Those are the two. You need to learn how to write in cursive because your high school and college professors are going to require it. Every teacher I've ever had after middle school, please don't write in cursive. I cannot read it.
Yeah. And it has to be in a Microsoft Word where you can put your word count into it.
I need everything MLS double spaced on Word. And you're like, okay.
It's so different, but I think that's possibly why our memories are so bad now, especially because like go look at a TikTok for 6 seconds. Hey, it's funny. Move to the next thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's that instant gratification, serotonin drip, and dopamine, and you're like, cool. What's next? What's next? What's next? You're always hunting that next feel good release. Whereas I think when we were younger, like you had to go out and like
you had to physically do something.
Play baseball. Like if you wanted that kind of release, you had to go buy a comedy album and put it on a record player, or go play ball and do well, like practice and do well and achieve something. And I don't think it's that way anymore. And people look at achievement as I got 600,000 TikTok followers. Okay, I guess. Like I don't understand what that is good for.
Money.
But I don't even think you get paid from TikTok. I don't think it.
No, it's the sponsors you get from being influencer
I
famous.
Think that's when you get there. But like otherwise, like I just don't understand the allure. It's cool if that's your thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't achieve it or do it. I'm just saying I don't get it. Like I would personally rather go build something or make something or accomplish something tangible. And I think that's because of my age. Like if you wanted that dopamine release, you had to win the damn pine card derby at Boy Scouts when I was 9, because that was the only way to get it. Otherwise, you were just a loser. Like, you better win this race. And that was it. Like, there wasn't, I'm just going to post this on TikTok.
Well, even being, like, an author or anything like that, like, the whole, like, getting into, like, being a writer, you had to find an editor. You had to find a company that would publish you all this stuff.
Right.
And now, you can just publish yourself.
You can just do it yourself. Well, that's...
I notice it in me. Like, I notice my attention span and my ability to retain things I read has gone down. I mean, since I was 20.
Yeah.
And I really think it's because of, like, phones and the computer and my laptop and my PC and tablets. And I specifically go a couple hours a day without touching it. Like, I don't care who calls me. Like, I'll call you back. I need that time to reset my brain and focus and think and figure things out.
I'll do something like play Sudoku.
Yeah.
Just something that forces my brain to work. Or sometimes at work, I'll add manually in my head as opposed to pull out the calculator. Just to keep that skill. You'd be surprised at how fast you just lose math skills.
Yeah, I'll go lock myself in my office, and I will use the computer, but I'll just pull up an article. I need something on quantum physics, and I'll just sit there and read for 2 hours.
I'll do a crossword puzzle.
And just go through it. And if I'll try to figure it out, because I need that downtime that's not instant, constant, click, 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 change. They're trying to barrage my brain with, here's an ad for this, here's an ad for this, here's an ad for this.
Stand ads.
I need that downtime.
Yeah.
I need to not see anything but the written word that I can read and try to comprehend and move on. And that's not for everybody, but I need that.
Well, and I really dislike you try and read a news article and you can't get like even a quarter down the page without an
Have you seen the new
advertisement.
Tesla? I don't care about the new Tesla.
Yeah. Have you... did you hear about this? No, I don't care.
It's like just looking.
Do you need Cialis? If I had a penis, maybe. Like I don't know
yet.
yet.
Going to look stuff up, like any, like just randomly, like, oh, I'm interested in looking this up, and it's like 14 ads. Don't turn your ad blocker on because we need all blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, I'm literally just looking something up for a paragraph.
What helps me, what I think is, I really do think it's more helpful than anything, is my metal detecting. So I go look up historic maps. The good news is most of your local city's maps are not digitized. You have to physically go to the library and have them pull them or look them up on microfiche from old books. I don't know how many kids this day know what microfiche is.
No.
Or would
Or
ever
would know how to use the machine.
Absolutely. But I physically have to go to a spot, sit down and be quiet and pull these maps out.
There was something so
Well, you have to speed read on microfiche too.
Yeah, it goes.
Well, I was about to say, there was something so satisfying about finding something on it because you're like, oh my God, it did exist.
Yes.
I did it. Like, because we used to have to do that in college, especially like old articles, because Georgia State's library had a huge microfiche thing. So
Absolutely.
you could go and like sit there. You would have to rent time, but you could sit there and look through stuff, especially like old Atlanta stuff. And let me tell you, that was the most satisfying. Like,
It's lovely.
I love it. I miss library. I miss going to a library.
So go.
I mean, well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, I could literally just going to the bookstore in general. That's, like, my favorite thing to do. But, like, going and sitting at a library and just studying. I don't really have a reason to study anymore. But,
I still do, and it's nice. Like, I get to go look at old maps, old surveyors.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I physically have to go to a location because it's not digitized.
Well, the problem is with my job is I literally I have to study all the time. So it's like, this is not fun. Like, my studying is making sure I'm not breaking the law.
But, like, I have to get in good with, like, the city managers, the historians.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of that.
But it's not an instant gratification.
It's not. Like, I have to work for it.
No.
And when I find, oh my God, there used to be a road that went through here. This property is owned by the city. Do you mind if?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm like,
I think that's why
we found it.
I think that's why Angie wants to metal detect too. Is just the like historic findings of things.
It's so much fun.
And just walking through the woods and fields, I really miss that.
It's the best.
Yeah, and I've been trying to stay away from the phone because I no longer want to read, or I'll go to read a book and I'm like, let me just go see what's going on Facebook.
Because it is that dopamine.
Yeah. And I like to write, and I love to write for people to read it, and I just don't ever do it anymore.
That's the best part about, like, so my specific metal detector, you cannot have your phone on you or it'll interfere with the signal. Mm-hmm. So it just gets locked in the truck. Like, sorry, you can't reach me for 4 hours.
Oh.
Good luck. That's why, like, last weekend when, like, so-and-so happened, Casey's like, Chris is detecting, you're not going to be able to get a hold of him. I'm like, awesome.
Mm-hmm. I love, me and Angie have always talked about, like, we just like going up to the coffee shop and writing. Just...
Yeah, I loved it. But then we went from writing to playing Valorant. Play
Stardew Valley.
And then League of Legends.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened there.
But no, I'm on board with, like I want to go write. Like, that's the next thing I want to do. And I feel like I need to be doing it. So I want to do it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's going to be worth reading, but I want to write. I wonder if that's what's happened to, like, a lot of these kids. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's ADD. I think they're literally being wired that way from 3 years old when we hand them a tablet.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're reconstructing brain synapses to be that kind of shortwave, and it sucks. Like,
here's the thing, like, we're sitting here talking, and in my head, I thought, you smell like my dad. Aaron Lever, like, I just thought it was funny. Why?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Because our brains are just...
it's remembering all the shit I was doing.
We're rewiring them.
I feel like we should just title this episode the Get Off My Lawn episode. Like, we're
God.
the old people talking back in my day.
Here's the thing. I don't think we're even doing that. I think we're actually looking at the reasoning behind it. Like, I'm not mad at these kids. I'm not mad at kids that don't have an attention span.
I am.
I'm mad at society because I think we're doing it to them, and we haven't taken any kind of steps to regulate it or balance it.
It is becoming like WALL-E.
Then at the same time, when these kids who are just stepping into adulthood go to get a job, you need 5 years experience. Oh, you're a kid. You need this. We have set them up for just complete failure.
Yep.
Well, and then
a
lot of different
we come
ways.
Down on them.
We tell them, hey, you need 6 years of college. You need a master's degree.
And you need to get your own house and this and that and the other and da-da-da-da-da.
Housing market's a nightmare. And I look at kids now like, are
they ever going to afford it?
How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't, where I live now, I couldn't afford to buy a house there today.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way. Like, my mortgage would be $2,700 a month for my house.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I could afford to live there. Like, who
I
can?
couldn't afford to live here if I wasn't grandfathered in before they built up all around it.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. Like,
I just don't understand what these kids are going. I can't figure out what they're going to do other than go into massive depressive debt. And even then,
okay.
What are you going to, like, how are you going to get out of that?
Yeah.
Who can spend, as a 25-year-old that didn't come with a trust fund, $3,000 a month on rent?
When you can't get a job because you need experience, and you can't get experience because you can't get the job.
Yeah. The average rent in where I live is $2,800 a month.
I think that's why you're seeing an advent of kids starting to not go to college and going back into the eye of going trades, because trades are such a hard, like, it's kind of flipped now. It's such an overabundance of kids who went to college and want to get the white collar jobs and do all that. Whereas now a lot of kids, there's so many trade options that people are looking
there's
for
more
those
money
people.
in the blue collar.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're a good plumber, you make $120K a year. Your debt is probably $6,000 at a technical school. Like,
oh yeah.
Not only that, you don't even have to go to school for it. You can apprentice, and they'll pay you $22 an hour to apprentice with a plumber.
Yeah.
Why would you not do that? Versus, I have friends that have master's degrees that make less money than I do. How is that possible?
Yeah.
How do you have 8, 9, 10 years of higher education? I did not go to college at all. That make less than I do I have state certifications.
Yeah. Certifications are where it's at.
It is insanity. And I tell them all, like, you don't have to do the kind of work I do, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Go get a certification in plumbing.
Become a welder.
HVAC.
Like, hello, welders and machinists. Oh my God.
$100 an hour.
Yeah.
Like,
it legit is.
Oh, Caterpillar's hiring today to be a mobile welder for like their big machines that break down. So they just like, you're like the Central Georgia guy. So like, hey, you need to drive down to Macon to this job site and weld this machine back up. One of their tracks came off.
Yeah.
You get paid whether you leave or not. And it's $100 an hour.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Deal. But they can't hire people fast enough because there aren't that many skilled people.
Well, and there's a lot of schools, I think, like a county over or so, they're starting to do career centers that are trade based.
Good.
Because it's like on the top level, it is like your lawyers and all that stuff. But at the bottom, they have all of the machines you would get in a normal like setting, like working at like a place like Angie works at with like 3D printing, different machines. And so you can learn it, because a lot of these kids, what's happening is if those kids maybe graduate early from high school, by the time they're 20, they're making $100K a year because they're so specialized at that point.
Well, they're good at, they have a skill, a marketable skill. I love you all, and if you got your degree in poli-sci, Godspeed, because I don't know what the fuck you're going to get paid for with that.
Not anymore.
I have no idea.
Go to law school. That's all you can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends that have degrees in things that I don't know how it's profitable. I don't know how you get hired on with what that degree's in.
Yeah. It's crazy. And that's the thing is, like, I mean, literally, it wouldn't have mattered when I went back in time. But, like, knowing what I know now, I tell kids all the time, don't become a lawyer.
So here's the thing.
It's not worth it.
If you really want to be a lawyer, be a lawyer. If you really want to be a doctor, be a doctor. But don't go to college because you have this weird idea that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
You need to have a career in mind.
Have a manageable career. And if you don't think you are one of those people who can sit down and look at a book and study, do something that is physical.
Yeah,
because you can make that money.
If you want to be a vet, be a vet. Be the best damn vet you can. But don't go to school and decide 3 years in, I may be a vet. You're going to be in debt for the rest of your natural life with nothing to show for it.
Yep.
It is. I have a buddy, she's a friend in Oklahoma, and she has a master's degree in mass communication. I don't know what that means. I know she works for the Air Force Base. Like,
that's what Bobby has a degree in.
Yeah.
Communications.
I don't understand what that's for. I've been communicating my entire life.
Yeah.
I get that. I just think we put so much pressure on these kids. You have to go to college. You have to get a degree in something. And versus, hey, what do you want to do? Let's drive towards that goal. And so many of them don't have a clue what they want to do, and they're just going to school to go to school.
I had a history teacher, and everybody thought she was kind of mean. She wasn't mean. She was realistic. So it was for college credit in high school. She taught that course, and one of the things she said to us is always stuck with me is you cannot be anything you want to be. Nip it in the bud. Figure out what you can do.
And do it.
And combine it with what you want to do, but you cannot do anything you want to do.
I agree.
Sorry. Not everybody is cut out. I would love to be an NFL running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I absolutely would love to.
I wanted to be a NASCAR driver when I was a kid.
Just a quick heads up, if the Falcons do hold open tryouts for a position like
I'm doing
Marky Mark style.
Let's go.
I'm showing my fat ass up because I'm already not playing for the Falcons. What's the worst that happens?
Yeah, for funsies.
And you know what? We'll record it. We'll put it online.
I will absolutely. What happens if I break free 3 times in a row? And they're like, you're a new running back.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't got to do dick else but make the league minimum of $800,000 a year. If they hired me for 2 years, we're good.
Yeah.
Like, the end.
Yeah.
Because what if I do happen to take my fat ass and break free? Deal.
Yeah.
I mean, the linebackers are going to kill me and run me down. But
But all you have to do is break free.
25 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
They'll be like, well, you're our new running back. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, what's up? I'll be on the sideline smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, and they'll be like, you're up, Reed. And I'm like, oh, no.
How far do you want me to run? Because I'm thinking
Like,
negative.
like-
Please don't hit me.
Have you ever seen that
Blue Mountain State?
Yeah,
Of course.
God, I love Blue Mountain State. Be like him when he's like, he got hurt. You're up. Oh my God. I'm high as we
But
speak.
I assume with the way the Falcon season is going, they're eventually going to have open tryouts. And
Calvin Ridley. They need wide receivers now.
I'm thinking they're going to start just hiring straight out of high school and college.
just have open. I mean, do like the Jets did and have just open tryouts. To hell with it.
They're gonna be at Northgate. Can we see wide receivers,
No,
please?
they're-
We just had a pitcher that got the World's. Do y'all have any football players too?
Exactly.
They're definitely not going to Northgate for the football players.
Maybe Whitewater.
Or he's
for
going
the football players,
Apparently
Whitewater?
they're doing really well.
mm-mm.
Okay.
They may be doing good for Peachtree City standards.
They're like a 5A, 4A team.
That's just based on their number of kids. That doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah, but they literally were undefeated through the season. That's still better than the Falcons. Let's remember that we're comparing it to the Falcons.
It's true.
Ma'am, can we talk to your sophomore?
Are
The
you,
college got the
Has he had puberty yet?
have you ever considered a career in the NFL, sir?
not with the Falcons, no.
Yes, tomorrow.
Yeah.
They still got to pay me the league minimum. I don't care if it's the Dolphins, the Falcons, the Lions. Let's go.
Let's go.
Out of everybody I know, Chris would be the one that gets hired onto the Falcons. He's like, I don't know what happened, but it's kind of fun.
Again, if you break free 3 times, you're like, you're hired. I need missed tackles 3 times in a row, and then I'm an NFL running back.
Mm-hmm.
Should never be there. I'm going to be like John Daly on the golf course, just smoking cigarettes and chugging beers and then just killing it. But if I ever broke free and scored a touchdown, it'd go down in history as like, that kid's almost 40.
The hilarious part of this is the sidelines at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium is literally right there at like the VIP thing. So you can be like, hey, give me a beer. Hey.
Bud Light this way.
Hey.
But no.
Okay, well.
Sorry,
that's
we
so
got off
funny.
track.
I was about to say we derailed that, but it was a pretty good discussion.
That's what we're here for. It's
Yeah.
the free rotation.
We just rotated topics a little bit. Okay,
Well, join us next week. We will go over some more conspiracy theories.
Okay, bye.
Love you.